ABC News Live. ABC News, honored for excellence with 41 Emmy nominations, the most of any news organization anywhere. Thank you for making ABC News America's #1 news.
Finally tonight, the powerful images and sounds as a nation grieves and the world says a final goodbye to Queen Elizabeth.
Buckingham Palace has just announced that Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II has died.
It's rare that such anticipated news would come as such a shock, prompting mourning and a multiple-day journey throughout her kingdom. A mixture of grief and reverence, marked by tributes all along the way. A prince becomes king.
Prince Charles Philip Arthur George, King, head of the Commonwealth.
With all the pageantry that follows. A 12-day farewell to their sovereign. Honoring a lifetime of service. Prompting a bridging of familial ties, no matter how fleeting. All the Queen's children and grandchildren together, reflecting on the life of their mother and granny. And for the countless mourners across the nation and globe who never met her.
It was just amazing. I thought it was worth 14 hours.
Compelled to bid her one final goodbye.
Thank you for your love and devotion to our family and to the family of nations you have served so diligently all these years.
That rainbow, powerful and symbolic imagery for so many. David Muir and Robin Roberts and the entire team will have full coverage of Queen Elizabeth's funeral tomorrow beginning at 5:15 a.m. Eastern. Thanks so much for watching. I'm Lindsay Davis in New York. Have a great evening, and for all of us here, good night.
All right, here we go. You ready? Let's do it.
Yes, it's the show America wants and America needs right now.
This is What Would You Do? Let's go. How are you?
How cute.
Yes.
So what will you be watching Saturdays on ABC News Live?
What would you do?
Hey, I guess I just found out.
The What Would You Do Marathon, 12 to 6 Eastern, every Saturday on ABC News Live.
My favorite show.
Bring them on.
If only there was a place in the morning to start my day. With a smile, somewhere to help me get in the know. A place as spectacular as, well, me.
I think we might know a place, right, guys?
Bring your friends. Oh, wait, there is.
Good morning, America.
GMA, 7A, every day. Boom, boom, boom. Good morning, Michael.
Good morning, Robin. Good morning, America. How are you?
Boom. Now that's how you start your day, people.
This is ABC News Live.
The crush of families here in Poland.
At refugee centers
In Putin's Russia.
On the ground in Ukraine.
Close to the front line.
Here at the White House.
Destructive Cat 4 storm.
You're along I-5.
Boston is in the bullseye.
Let's go. We made it.
ABC News Live, America's #1 streaming news. Anytime, anywhere. Streaming 24/7, straight to you for free.
Thank you for making ABC News Live America's #1 streaming news.
Take America's #1 news with you anywhere you go, anytime, free. Download the ABC News app now. Breaking news, exclusives, 24/7. There for you with one touch. The ABC News app. Download it now. This is ABC News Live Prime.
Thanks so much for streaming with us.
Live reporting, breaking news, exclusives, award-winning, powerful, eye-opening. ABC News Live Prime with Lindsay Davis. Streaming weeknights.
Breaking news tonight as we come on the air. Hurricane Fiona slams into Puerto Rico, knocking out power to the entire island as the world prepares to say a final farewell to the Queen. We begin, though, with that dangerous hurricane making landfall in Puerto Rico, now completely in the dark. 85-mile-per-hour winds ripping off roofs, knocking down power lines. Satellite images show the massive storm. Parts of the island now bracing for catastrophic flooding and up to 2 feet of rain. What the island's governor just told our Victor Oquendo and Rob Marciano standing by with just how bad things can get. The final farewell to the Queen. Elizabeth II's funeral now just hours away. The line to see the Queen snaking through London. President Biden and Dr. Jill Biden in London paying their respects, joining the unprecedented gathering of world leaders there. And the moment of silence observed throughout the British Isles as the UK and world prepare to say goodbye to a beloved monarch. And how the Queen consort Camilla remembered Her Majesty, her mother-in-law. James Longman reports from London. New horrors revealed in Ukraine. The country claims they have found nearly a dozen torture chambers. Our Tom Sufi Burridge is on the ground in the newly liberated city of Izium as workers recover hundreds of bodies from mass graves, among them women and children. And the warning tonight from President Biden to Vladimir Putin. The deadly earthquake in Taiwan, buildings collapse, the images coming in of people running for their lives inside a sports complex. An urgent manhunt in Louisiana after a popular college student is gunned down. Her grieving family is demanding answers. Dramatic new video, the terrifying cockpit footage of the moment a bird strike brought down a naval jet, how the pilots managed to get out just in time. The battle over the border is escalating. More buses carrying migrants arrive in Washington and New York. The mayor of New York is calling it a humanitarian crisis. And the mourners and the milestones leading up to this historic goodbye to the Queen.
From ABC News World Headquarters in New York, this is World News Tonight.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us on this busy Sunday. I'm Lindsay Davis. Several major stories as we come on the air. President Biden paying his respects to the Queen and the royal family today on the eve of Queen Elizabeth II's funeral. The chilling details emerging from that mass burial site in Ukraine. But we do begin tonight with the state of emergency in Puerto Rico. At this hour, Hurricane Fiona is slamming the island with 85-mile-per-hour sustained winds. The remnants of an asphalt roof blowing through the streets. The governor of Puerto Rico is calling the damage catastrophic. This satellite image shows the massive storm as it made landfall just hours ago, nearly 5 years to the day of Hurricane Maria. The entire island losing all electricity. More than 3 million residents face a dark and dangerous night ahead. The island's governor says it's all hands on deck, telling ABC News that the island is better prepared now than it was 5 years ago for Hurricane Maria, but it remains to be seen if the preparations were enough. ABC's Victor Oquendo is in Puerto Rico and leads us off tonight.
Tonight, Hurricane Fiona slamming Puerto Rico with powerful winds and flooding rain, knocking out the fragile power grid. Now, an island-wide blackout. 1.5 million customers without electricity. Category 1 hurricane making landfall with sustained winds of 85 miles per hour, knocking down trees and power lines, expected to dump up to 2 feet of rain. High winds ripping the roof off the structure, tearing it to shreds. Julito Cirino says he was sleeping when the winds tore the roof off his house. The storm dumping torrential rain across much of the island. Watch as raging floodwaters sweep away this bridge, reportedly newly constructed after Hurricane Maria. President Biden declaring a state of emergency, the governor of Puerto Rico calling the damage catastrophic, but earlier saying they were ready with enough resources to respond.
This storm is going to affect the whole island one way or another, specifically the southern part here. What is your biggest concern right now for Puerto Rico?
I don't want any loss of life here. Once that's taken care of, then restoring the electric service.
Fiona arriving nearly 5 years ago to the day as Maria, which killed nearly 3,000 people.
Still so fresh in everyone's minds here. It's got to be, you know, another punch.
But that's why people are very responsive and they cooperate, because they remember, they still remember Maria. And nobody wants that happening again, and including the aftermath. So this is all hands on deck.
Already catastrophic flooding and torrential rain. Victor Oquendo is braving that rain for us from San Juan, Puerto Rico. Victor, clearly the already fragile electric grid was not able to withstand the strength of this storm. Any idea when power might be restored?
Lindsay, the company repairing the grid said it is going to take days to restore power to the entire island, and that right now conditions are so rough. The rain, it just keeps coming down. The flooding, it's getting even worse in the southwest part of Puerto Rico right now. They can't even begin to assess the situation. But before Fiona hit, I spoke with the vice president of the company, Luma Energy, and they tell me they have all the resources in place ready to go once the storm passes. But for people here in Puerto Rico, they take that with a grain of salt. Lindsay?
But many hoping the company is right. Victor, thank you. And let's get right to senior meteorologist Rob Marciano. Rob, where is Fiona heading next?
Well, right now, just off the coast of Puerto Rico, and even that, we're not looking for conditions to improve on the island for probably another 12 hours. Here it is on the radar scope. A lot of heavy rain still to come through nearly all of the island under flash flood warnings, including parts of San Juan. You'll see this swirl continue up towards the north and west. We had 100-mile-an-hour gusts on southern parts of the island, and river gauges are now spiking with another foot of rain potentially coming in the next 12 hours. We do now expect this hurricane to become a major hurricane, a Category 3 with winds of 125 miles an hour. It will not make a run at the U.S. mainland, but here on the East Coast, we will see some swells with this, and it'll make a run at Bermuda. I got to mention for our viewers in the Midwest, tornadoes are possible tonight from Iowa and through parts of central Illinois. Lindsay?
Rob, we know you'll be watching it all for us. Thank you. And we turn now to London, just hours away from the funeral and the final farewell to Queen Elizabeth. President Biden paying his respects at Westminster Hall earlier today, where the Queen is lying in state. First Lady Dr. Jill Biden right at his side. Tens of thousands of people still waiting hours to make their way to see the Queen. The government there just recently closing the line to additional mourners. The palace releasing this new photo of the Queen with those sparkling eyes and vibrant smile. We're just learning that two of the Queen's great-grandchildren, Prince George and Princess Charlotte, will be in attendance at the service. ABC's James Longman tonight from London.
London is preparing to make history tonight, an unprecedented gathering of world leaders, from monarchs to presidents and prime ministers, all honouring Queen Elizabeth II. President Biden and First Lady Jill Biden paying their respects to Her Majesty, who's lying in state for one last night in London's Westminster Hall. The president clearly moved by the experience. The two signing condolence books.
As I've told the King, she's going to be with him every step of the way, every minute, every moment. And that's a reassuring notion. So to all the people of England, all the people of the United Kingdom, our hearts go out to you.
They then headed to a reception hosted by King Charles III. Also among those paying tribute today, Ukraine's First Lady Olena Zelenska. In a touching scene on Saturday, Queen Elizabeth's 8 grandchildren held vigil as the crowds passed.
I wasn't expecting to feel much emotion at all, but as I looked up, I felt myself welling up a bit. So yeah, it was quite moving.
Tens of thousands from all over the world have come here to keep the late Queen company. Authorities now saying no more should join the line.
It's such a beautiful way for her to have been sent off, with the people around who have been coming countlessly for days and days and queuing up for hours and hours and hours.
After days of these endless queues, the United Kingdom standing still in a minute's silence tonight, a moment of peace before tomorrow's pomp and pageantry. Authorities bracing for the biggest one-day policing operation in London's history. Around 2,000 are expected in the congregation for tomorrow's service, but outside, an estimated 1 million people.
I've stayed out on the pavement all night with my sleeping bag.
And tonight, the King's wife and Queen Consort Camilla reflecting on Her Majesty.
Tonight, James, as you just reported, the Queen's funeral will certainly present a massive challenge for London tomorrow. What's the plan security-wise?
Well, Lindsay, police forces from across the UK have joined those here in the capital. There is extra CCTV, there are sniffer dogs, military personnel on the street. This is the largest and most complex operation in London's history. Millions will be watching from all around the world, and authorities are keen to make sure everything goes as planned. Lindsay?
London bracing itself. James, thank you. And just a reminder that David Muir, Robin Roberts, and the entire team will have full coverage of the funeral of Queen Elizabeth tomorrow, beginning at 5:15 a.m. Eastern. We turn now to the war in Ukraine, and the war crimes investigations now underway after the gruesome discoveries in the northeast part of the country.